The love of HR. Hello, lovely people. I hope you're well. I had a few people ask me about my HR experience and background, so I thought I would share this bonus video where I would take you on my HR journey. My hope is simple, that it inspires you and gives you some context for the perspective I bring to For the Love of HR. As I thought about how best to explain my journey, a favourite development model came to mind. It's called the 70-20-10 framework, created by the Centre for Creative Leadership back in the 1980s. It was based on research into how executives actually learned and developed in their careers, and it's just as relevant today for all of us. Have you come across this model in your organisation? If yes, I'd love to know how it was applied. The model is simple. 70% of learning comes from experience and on-the-job development. That means the real work, assignments, challenges, projects, setbacks, problem solving. Real work is the main engine of personal growth. 20% comes from others, managers, mentors, colleagues, bosses, peers, networking. You may be watching or listening to them or modeling some of your own behavior on what you have seen. And just 10% comes from formal learning, courses, workshops, certifications. Still very important and foundational, as I found, but a smaller slice. Have you used this approach in your career? What did you find most helpful and most challenging? It actually was during a coaching and feedback workshop that the light bulb came on for me about how you develop. As an individual, when you yourself become aware, when you yourself take the learning from an experience, that is the best learning. A couple of quotes reinforce this. Confucius said, "I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand." Benjamin Franklin once said, "Tell me and I will forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." Both remind me that true and meaningful development comes from involvement, from your own learning. And my career proves that. So let me show you how 70-20-10 played out in my own journey. Let's start with the 70% experience. Interestingly, my HR journey started in the Royal Navy, where I was recruited as an engineer due to a number of factors, including my high spatial ability, apparently. After a very short period of time, I knew that that was not the career I wanted, and I asked to leave. And the Royal Navy asked me, "What would you like to do?" I replied, "I would like a job where I work with computers." In those days, it was very unusual. And that is where my HR, or personnel as it was called then, commenced. I was accountable for the same areas that any organization would be, from payroll, leave, movement of people, to performance management and the adherence of the RN regulations. My next 5 roles were in large global organizations. Some of them I'm sure you will recognize. And then I had an interesting experience as an organizational development OD leader for an IT SME. In my roles, I have worked across industries from the less talked about logistics. Yes, in those days it wasn't such a sexy industry. FMCG and more lately, technically related industries. From countries and continents around the world. Each role stretched me, leading transformations, navigating cultural differences, managing large-scale change. My roles followed a fairly traditional path of junior HR generalist and specialist to manager to director, and then later to a more specialist role or a combination of both. From local to multiple countries and businesses to regional and global roles. With entrepreneur in my sights, I then started my own HR consultancy. and attempted to build a global recruitment platform called CareerLine. I raised significant funds and invested significantly myself. Sadly, this was my entrepreneurial failed experience that taught me a lot. A lot about the importance of software building and a focus on marketing, not perfect products. I could talk for hours on this experience. What followed have been various HR roles supporting startups and SMEs, generally in various capacities, from headhunting to HR audits. Like many of you also, I have many examples of work or case studies that I could share. So here are just a few samples from building organizational and leadership capabilities to new ways of working, workforce planning and mandatory central HR service center restructure. We need to tick that off the list. It has been in all of these experiences that I have grown the most significantly. Now the 20%, learning from others. It was very interesting as I reflected on the 20%. In the early days, I think I took most of my learning from my instructors or my managers or supervisors. And then later on, more from mentors. And then it became an evolving mix of peers, formal coaching, and colleagues. Listening to what they had to share, watching how they reacted, problem solved, led, how they handled conflict and built trust, how they led change and transformation, and at times how they failed and how they recovered from them. These examples shaped me deeply, and most importantly, the reactions of others really gave me some insight what works and what doesn't work. Being a member of a global organization transformation to a regional capability drive to day-to-day deliverables and projects, all these different experiences has provided countless learnings from others. Observing, listening, and most importantly, asking questions has developed me so much more than any textbook ever could. And then there's the 10%, formal learning. I left school very early with just one O-level and was blessed when my first company after the military invested in my future. I eventually earned an MBA, studying part-time for 6 years. It was tough, but I finished. There has been a strong bias of formal HR functional learning, focused on our core roles, including recruitment, job evaluation, process engineering, and training. Along the way, I picked up HR certifications, becoming certified trainer in performance management, coaching, and feedback, and led many sessions which were a huge learning in themselves. The most important learning has been in business impacting areas, such as OGSM, maximizing performance, capability development, and change and transformation methodologies. Beyond HR, I kept learning practical contextual tools that I needed at specific moments, including Canva, AI, even video editing. And during COVID, I wrote and published a book. That was a whole new learning curve. So that's my journey, shaped by experiences, by people, and by formal learning. And if there's one lesson, it's this: you don't need a perfect start to build a meaningful career. If I can do it, you absolutely can too. Thank you for spending time with me here on For the Love of HR. Remember, high impact HR comes from aligning purpose, ambition, and deliverables, and building partnerships that grow organizations, teams, and people. If this resonated with you, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next conversation. I'll see you soon. Until then, take care.